All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Wednesday, February 26th. We have a 9-game, I think it's 9 games, 9-game NBA slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the games as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That'll take you to all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, it's absolutely free down in the pinned comment. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3 for more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. All right, in terms of how we did yesterday, I think we'll take a cha-ching. We had 6 full unit plays on the board yesterday, and we cashed 5 of them. Austin Reeves over 5.5 assists. Oh my. I saw a couple guys miss some threes. We landed on the hook that close to a 6-0 sweep of the board with all the full unit plays. And I'm emphasizing the full unit plays aspect of it because we realistically, yes, throughout the NBA season, we've sprinkled in full unit plays and that type of thing throughout the year. Last 2 days have been the first time that we've just gone full units across the board. And this nice little night comes at a good time because, yes, I could just sit here and be like, 5-1, let's go. But let's acknowledge the elephant in the room. We had 3 bad days prior to, so the fact that those were made up of half unit and quarter unit plays, and now we have a nice 5-1 night of full unit plays, does feel pretty damn good. It's a really good swing in our direction. So yeah, loving it. Unfortunately, you know what? We'll take one more cha-ching to keep the vibes high, because unfortunately, the ride of the day, you know what we have to do. We got to drop the womp womp on my man Will here. Brandon Pazemski, over 13.5 points. B-Pod finished with, I believe it was 10 points. Yeah, 25 minutes played, 10 points, 2 assists, 5 rebounds. Not the greatest of games from him. So, yeah, unfortunately, that is the negative part of the video. It was a good look, but obviously if we look at, the Warriors in that game, they end up beating, what was the final score in that game? They beat Charlotte by like 30, right? It's just tough to see that have a factor in this. But nonetheless, guys, it was still a good look from Will, so shout out to him. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it's simple. Just use that hashtag ride of the day down in the comments. Give me your favorite play of the day. Each and every day, I jump on board with one person's play. I give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. Also shout you out on my Twitter, which is on the screen right now. And you get a shout out over on the Guy Boston Sports site with the final plays. If you win, we continue to ride with your plays until the wheels fall off. If you lose, got to face the womp womp like we did today, but you still do get the shout out. So make sure to go ahead and drop those hashtag ride of the days down in the comments. But all right, let's go ahead and jump into this slate. Guys, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Really do appreciate all the comments lately that are supportive. We've had such a mixed bag of comments, especially when we get cold. Like, I know the game that I'm in, right? But just really do appreciate all the supporters out there and the real ones, seriously. Let's go ahead and jump into game number 1 here. Indiana taking on Toronto. Now, Indiana laying 10 points. I've seen 10.5 in some cases. I do think that makes sense for a couple reasons here. You do have Toronto, who just lost to the Celtics. Right now, they're on a back-to-back. They have covered in 60% of their back-to-back games. I will throw that out there. Indiana has covered in 60% of their rest advantage games, meaning when they have a rest advantage over their opponent, and they do here, right? They just lost to Denver a couple nights ago, but Indiana has been home for like over a week now. Toronto was just on a home trip, or a home stand, I guess you could say, and now they traveled to the Pacers after getting beat by double digits to the Celtics. This does not strike me as a phenomenal Toronto spot. I don't know if I'm comfortable with the 10 points from Indiana, but that's certainly the side that I would consider. When we look at these two teams and how they've played this season, Toronto's honestly got the best of Indiana. Back in mid-November, 130 to 119 in Toronto, though. Back in early December, 122 to 111 in Toronto, though. This Toronto team is 5-21 on the road this year. I think that this is going to be a little bit different of a story. They have covered big numbers on the road. In general, they've covered on the road, so I don't really want to stake that claim or make that claim saying like, oh, like they stink on the road. They do from a win-loss. From against the numbers, which we care about more, they don't. But I do think the fact that they've already beat this team twice kind of serves as a reason for Indiana to kind of bounce back and kind of get theirs, right? Now, there are some injuries injuries to note here, and again, Toronto's on a back-to-back, so let's keep an eye on these. Grady Dick listed as questionable, and Jakob Poeltl also potentially playing in this one. Jakob Poeltl would change some things, not enough to flip me to Toronto, but obviously maybe that's even more reason to stay away from this one. And then same sort of reason on the other side. Indiana, okay, Tyrese Halliburton's listed as questionable. All right, if he doesn't play, we still have a facilitator, TJ McConnell, coming in, right? No, he's also questionable. So we could have some serious lack thereof of facilitation in the backcourt there for Indiana. Not that Tyrese Halliburton is having the most phenomenal point guard season in terms of passing, but still, those two guys missing could be a big deal. I think where I'd go before we get into the total here, I think I'd pivot to a player prop that I'm liking, and it's just a player that, one, has a couple reasons why I might like it, especially if Halliburton doesn't play. I do think that this is a direction I'd like to go in. Pascal Siakam, over 20.5 points. Right now, you can get a 20.5, you can get a 21.5. I think I still like the 21.5, but obviously I'm more comfortable with a line that's, 20.5. But if you have to get 21.5, I don't think it's all that bad. He's due. He's missed in 4 straight games. Okay, I get it. Overall, that was against Washington. He played a ton of minutes. He did not shoot the ball all that well. I think he shot like 20 or 29% or something. But this is against his old team, and he's hit the over in 3 of his last 5 games against this Toronto team, one of which being this season. He did have 25 games. And this is a Toronto team that really does struggle the closer you get to the hoop, as well as in that sort of in the paint area that's just outside the restricted area, both of those being spots that Pascal Siakam loves, right? So I think that he kind of fits the bill in this spot to have a decent game. We have him projected for 20.5 points. So yeah, with the numbers on our side there, and then what I think is a little boost of a matchup, I do like his over in points, but maybe you could even go like Pascal 18 plus points and Indiana money line or something in a same game parlay to kind of massage those numbers a little bit. Now, the total I saved for last because I don't think that it's something that we're really dying to get in. I don't mind an under here. I know the Pacers are going to play fast, and Toronto can also play fast, but overall, I don't think the Pacers are going to need to run this Toronto team out of the gym. They can play half-court basketball and still beat them, especially if Jakob Poeltl's not in there. So, yeah, I don't mind the idea of an under. I don't think that we race to get that one in there. I would probably prioritize this with Siakam, maybe that same game parlay I talked about, then the total in Indiana minus 10, 10.5, kind of in the same boat, down there. I think those lines are pretty spot on, you know what I mean? All right, Washington taking on Portland. I'm going to start with a stat here that I do think is kind of mind-blowing in a sense, but it also makes sense when you think about how poorly the teams have played against them. So Washington's played Milwaukee, Orlando, and Brooklyn. None of which, Milwaukee you can give credit to, but Orlando clearly hasn't fully figured some things out. Brooklyn obviously playing good defense, but not the best offense right now. Washington is the number 7 team in terms of defensive efficiency over their last 3 games, those 3 games. Yes, small sample size, but this team stinks, and we're seeing them top 10 in defensive efficiency. Now, maybe it's because some of the new guys they've added and whatnot have helped them out. That could be. I don't necessarily buy into that as a long-term thing. I was early to the Portland train, right? And then kind of got off maybe a game early. I called BS on how long their stretch was. And yeah, I guess a couple games later, they were still winning. They cooled off, but I do think that, they're still a team, in Portland I'm talking about here now, a team that can really control games when they play bad teams, especially teams that don't score at an efficient rate. This is a decent Portland defense. Now, I will throw in, injuries matter to this team greatly. DeAndre Ayton is listed as out. Robert Williams is listed as out. So we need Klingon to continue to play well. But realistically, Washington, a team that's not going to try and get to the hoop and score on you, right? Whereas Portland, number 3 last 10 games in restricted area field goal attempts. Washington's allowing, in fact, I can just show you in our dashboard, right? Number 3 in terms of restricted field goal attempts over the last 10 games for Portland. Washington allowing 73% of their opponents in that exact area. That screams Portland should be able to control this game, control the way it goes and the rhythm. So yeah, 5.5 does seem like it's a fair amount to cover for Portland, especially when Washington maybe is playing competitive basketball. I say that with 1 game under their belt, but they've covered in 8 of their last 10. Now they're getting some huge lines in this, right? Like they covered a 17.5 against I forget who it was, a really good team. They covered maybe it was Cleveland or Memphis, I don't know. They covered 12 against Minnesota, right? It's like, yes, Washington is losing, but they're kind of covering. I don't know if 6.5, 5.5, whatever this gets to is going to be that like big of a line, right? So yeah, I'm going to lean towards the Portland side of things. It could be a final play. Like I said, you know me, I love points in the paint. I think that that's where you establish your team and how the game's going to go, and then we kind of work our way out from there. I love the three-pointer. I was always a shooter. Bang. But I do think from breaking down games, I always look at the paint first, and there's not really one thing that I would say Washington does better than Portland. So yeah, it's got a chance to be a final play if it stays at 5.5. If it gets to 6.5, 7.5, then you start to get into that higher number territory that I think Washington could keep it close. Total-wise in this one, right now we're sitting at what, 230.5, right? That makes sense because what we know Washington probably wants to do, they actually haven't been the fastest paced team recently. I don't know if that's because of some of the new guys on their team, Middleton being in their offense, yada, yada, yada. But they haven't been the fastest team recently, but they do like to play fast. And Portland kind of surprisingly has been the 11th fastest team over the last 10 games. So I start thinking, okay, do we get up and over? But there's multiple reasons why I like an under here. Portland should be scoring in the paint. That's where they're going to make their do their damage, right? And what if, I mean, it's a big if and a big ask, but what if this Washington defense actually does step up and continue to play decent, right? Like, oh, okay, well, Portland's not a phenomenal offense. Then all of a sudden, this could be a slug fest of a game where we're just going 2-point shot, miss, 2-point shot on that. Like, I think that we could have an under here on our hands. So give me Portland as well as the under. And even as I talk myself into that under more, not sure which one I necessarily like more. In terms of where we go player prop wise, this is not going to be one where we spend too much time throughout the rest of the day. So I doubt we're going to see a lot of, player props in this game. But Denny Avdia could be a good, see, I can say his name right, guys. Denny Avadabadoo, you guys give me crap for that, could have a decent game here in this spot. Scoring, and I also do like him rebounding the ball as well. That being said, I feel like with Grant and Klingen down there, maybe his rebounds could dip, but yeah, I don't mind that spot. And I've also kind of putted the idea around of what is the updated line? We saw this last night. I want to see if we got an updated line before kind of diving into it. Yeah, Donovan Klingen here for a double-double. He's barely doing this, by the way, so this is like a flyer. But for plus 220 right now, I could see it. This is a Washington team, as we know, I already mentioned, right? Really bad down low on the season, 30th in points allowed to centers and 4th most rebounds allowed to centers per game. We look at it from a last 7 perspective, though, it's been a little bit better. So, yeah, you're kind of playing with fire there, but could be worth a sprinkle. All right, real quick, getting access to the dashboard, you head over to the members area on the Guy Boston Sports site, which is the link in the pinned comment. Head over to NBA dashboard because that's the available dashboard, and you have the dashboard. This should be loading for today's slate pretty damn soon, but you get each and every game broken down in a visual format. You can open it up, you can zoom in, you can print it, anything you want to do. Like I tell you guys, I actually like when I'm traveling, if I'm on a plane or something, I like to take these and print them out, and then I can scribble on them throughout the plane ride. Maybe just the basketball nerd in me, but it makes the time fly. And a lot of those times when I'm writing things down, I end up like remembering more than just seeing it on a computer screen, right? But anyways, head over to GuyBostonSports.com. The members area is right here. If you're not logged in, you'll see something that says, hey, you need a membership. We have a couple different membership options. I've been kind of explaining this in my most recent videos, but the All Sports dashboard gets you year-round access at that price, whatever you lock in at, to the dashboards that we come out with. I think our MLB dashboard that's about to come out is the best that we've had, and you could see the MLB dashboard. We already have the price public, right? $4.99 per month. That's how much it's going to cost as of right now for the All Sports dashboard. The minute it comes out, this thing will jump a little bit. So yeah, if you want to get in early and get a good price, you're going to get the dashboard for the NBA, but you'll also start getting the MLB dashboard. Whatever price you sign up at, you stick with. So yeah, consider signing up for the dashboard. We're going to be making a little how to use the dashboards video too. That'll kind of be in place of what we have right here, which is a how to, but it's kind of a quick run through. So yeah, consider becoming a Guy Boston member today. Just FYI, it's not picks or anything like that. It is for the research tools, and we have a lot more coming as well, just like scorepredicts.com, which we can show you right now as well. This is absolutely free. At some point, I'm sure we'll charge a subscription for it, but it's only been around for a month or so, and we have the game predictions right here, which are just based on our algorithm. These are all to include in your research, not just to blindly trust, right? And then we have what I think is our edge finder, which is really cool. We have our algorithm projection for score, for points, rebounds, assists, and threes, just added a couple days ago, and then we have the lines that are there, and you can kind of see you want to filter to who has the biggest scoring edge, that type of thing. Again, that's based on our algorithm versus the line that's out there. So this is very cool. Score Predicts. You spell it like that. Predix is how you spell predicts.com. Go ahead and check that out. Detroit taking on Boston. Celtics on a back-to-back here, so we want to keep an eye on the injury report today. Drew Holiday maybe coming back. Kristaps, who was hurt yesterday, got hurt yesterday, could be coming back as well. Luke Cornett was out, so was Al Horford. These are big factors because of how Detroit likes to play. So you see that line at +4, right? That could indicate that maybe Brown or Tatum isn't going to play. It is a back-to-back. I do think that that's a possibility, right? But if the Celtics are missing Porzingis, Horford, Cornett, and throw in Drew Holiday, who actually plays some interior defense, those are 4 of the biggest pieces to stop what Detroit likes to do, which if you don't know, now you know. They like to score in the paint. They like to shoot in the paint. This season, number 7 team in terms of points in the paint per game. Number 1 over the last 10 games in terms of field goal attempts in the paint per game. Even looking at the dashboard, which we just talked about, right? Look at this. It's literally like, based on these numbers, and this is only just 5 of the ranges, it's like the only place they like to score from, right? So yes, the Celtics are a very good interior defense, but when they're injured and really hurt like this, I don't think as much. In fact, last 3 games, they're the 4th worst in terms of defending the paint. So yeah, these injuries, I think Celtics -4, all day long. If the Celtics are healthy, they're so much better than Detroit. On back-to-backs, are they going to be in a great situation? Probably not, but this is an incredibly low line for what we normally see from a Celtics team. So I feel like you're not going to get -4s very often for one of the best teams in the league, right? So it's like, why wouldn't you take it? Well, the reason being is we want to see those injuries play out because those are really, really big deals. So give me the Celtics minus the points with the caveat that they're healthy. So you might have to wait this one out. And if those guys get ruled in, we'll probably have to run our speedy legs over to the window to try and get it in because I think the line could move fairly quickly. In terms of what we have from a total, yes, this is kind of a Detroit team that likes to score in the paint. The Celtics could, if they're injured, let them score a bunch, but I really don't see how this game gets kind of moving really, really quick. The Celtics are on a back-to-back. Back-to-backs this season for them, only 37.5% to the over, and Detroit has been playing pretty damn quick. I will give them credit there, but overall, I really think that this could be a low-scoring game just like yesterday, especially with the Celtics on a back-to-back. I'm pretty sure they're going to want to sit there and make sure that this team does not run. But, in terms of if you are liking the Detroit side of things, I will talk about a couple things. You're going to struggle to find a hotter team in the league, right? They are playing really well. They went into the All-Star break playing well. They've been playing well. I mean, you look at Cleveland, Boston, like OKC, even though OKC just lost. They're kind of in the likes of them in terms of the streak that they're on, right? They haven't had in their last 6 games here, the Clippers, okay, fine, banged up though, Clippers. Atlanta, San Antonio, Charlotte, Chicago, Philadelphia. Those are the last 7 games, right? They lose to Cleveland. They did play them tough. They lose to Atlanta. They did play them tough. And they also beat Chicago again. So I am going to call BS a little bit. I like this Pistons team. You guys know that. We've rolled with them recently. But I am going to call a little bit of BS on the strength of schedule lately. Like, the Celtics are by far and away the best team they've played in a while. So yes, I think there's a lot of factors into why this is just +4. Detroit's at home. Celtics are traveling. They are on a back-to-back, but this is still a really good Celtics team if healthy. But they're on a back-to-back. Some guys may sit, so keep that in mind. Player prop-wise, I do like Jalen Duren if this is a game in which the bigs for the Celtics don't play. I also really don't mind looking at someone like Jason Tatum, if he plays. I feel like I should just say, hey, blanket in if he plays after everything that I'm going to say. But a Jason Tatum rebounds could be something that I consider here, as well as even a Jaylen Brown rebound. Like, anyone in the Celtics rebounds I like, for the reason that if these bigs don't play, rebounds should be up for grabs. Jason Tatum being the sole, I think the guy that benefits the most, right? But Detroit likes to score in the paint so much that there's going to be so many rebounds that are kind of just rolling off the rim versus when they shoot threes and it clangs and a guard can get them and that type of thing. So anyone that does like to crash the glass, which is why I kind of say Derek White, he definitely does crash. Anyone that likes to get in there and get rebounds could be a good look. Derek White over 4.5 for +124. I wouldn't play that in the negatives, but +124 could be a look as well. But Tatum's probably the guy I'd turn to if all those guys are out. But his line's already up a rebound, so maybe they're not playing. All right, I know I'm talking a lot in today's video, but maybe we're fired up after that 5-1 night. So you know what? let me talk a little bit more and talk to you guys about sleeper picks. Jason Tatum, the man of the hour, we just talked about him. 0.5 points tonight. Hopefully he does play because Sleeper is offering that square to new customers. 0.5 points. And it is Wildcard Wednesday, meaning they'll do some sort of event or discounted squares on their app, which is really cool, guys. Go download Sleeper. That link is in the description as well as the pinned comment. You get this free square. You'll get the Wildcard Wednesday, but like I've been telling you, the best thing that they are offering is the Play 550, get 55 deal right now. You play a $5 entry, right? Here's $5. They will say, okay, here is 11 of those. You get 11 more free $5 runs. You can throw in big long shots. You can go kind of safe, build your bankroll in there. It's really, really cool. If you guys don't know what Sleeper is, it's a bunch of players. They have set projections, like Tatum's 0.5 points tonight, right? You pick more or less based on that projection. You put them into your entry. The more you win in that entry, the more you do get paid out. And what I love about Sleeper is that they don't just remove players or remove plays from the board like a lot of other apps. They actually have alternate lines, and each and every play has its own multiplier, kind of like an odd system. Really cool, guys. If it's available in your state and you're not on it yet, I think you'll regret it if you don't hop on this deal right now. So go check it out. I've been using Sleeper for years, and it is one of my favorite DFS player prop apps out there, if not my favorite. So go check it out, guys. That link will be down in the description as well as the pinned comment. Knicks taking on Philadelphia. I'm sure this was a game that people circled at some point, right? Earlier in the year, but there's so many injuries on both sides. OG Anunoby listed as questionable. He might not play. Karl Anthony Towns listed as questionable. Not probable, not doubtful, right in the middle questionable. So we'll definitely have to wait that one out. And then on the Philly side of things, Quentin Grimes listed as probable. This Sixers team is by no means in a good situation here, right? I will say if Cat doesn't play, this is probably a no-go on the Knicks side of things. But overall, this Sixers team, like I said, not really playing all that phenomenally. No Embiid. I mean, Paul George, I don't know if this just popped in my brain. So maybe I got by some AI or something, but he pretty much was like, we're not contenders. We're not even close. We have to figure some things out. We don't have the DNA. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I did see it on Twitter yesterday. So hopefully that wasn't AI. I'm not just spreading false information here. But this team's in a bad spot. If Cat plays, I have no problem laying the 10 points with the Knicks. I know Philadelphia is probably always going to play this team tough and whatnot, but if they really are this demoralized and they've lost 8 straight games, they haven't covered in 9 games, like what's stopping us from saying, all right, New York at home, coming off of 2 straight losses. They lost to Cleveland, and then a couple days later, they lost to Boston. Like, that's like getting a 1-2 punch, and you're like, all dazed and stuff, right? It's like, okay, let's get this train back on track. Let's not lose 3 in a row. I think they come in pretty fired up and play this Philadelphia team who isn't all that terrible at defending the paint, but isn't all that phenomenal. I would say Philadelphia would struggle to score more so than anything in this spot. I do really like the edge, so Knicks minus the 10, that's probably where I'd go if I had to. In terms of player props, this may be a spot in which, it's a make or break situation for our guy here. Mikal Bridges. Yes, you guys probably hear me say that name and you're like, what are you doing? Because the last couple times we've taken him, he's burned us, but he's definitely going to be a guy that likes the mid-range shot on this Knicks team, right? And via the dashboard, that's what I'm looking at as one of the biggest, spots in which this Philadelphia team lacks. And think about this. If we don't have Karl Anthony Towns, right, or if he's not 100%, Mikal Bridges could definitely be a very good look here. So, yeah, I like Bridges here over either 14.5 or 15.5 points. I think maybe we'll split a unit on both, pay juice for one, and then maybe we can even get even odds if we go like 16.5, something like that. I think that he could have a good game because of the mid-range, right? And again, we're kind of playing with fire here. Maybe Karl Anthony Towns is hobbled or something like that. But last time, and it was just, about a month and a half ago, Mikal Bridges, 23 points, and I think it was like, did they go to overtime in that game, if I'm not mistaken? Either way, he played a bunch of minutes, but 23 points. He had a really good game against them. The time before that, 14, and he shot the ball, only 13 times. If we get a decent amount of field goal attempts from him, I think this could be a good look. So, yeah, even though Bridges has burned us, we're rolling with him one more time. I will say this, Mikal Bridges, if we make you a final play and you do not cover, there's a strong chance you are getting a spot over on the DNB graveyard, which 2 headstones left that are open for you. You could pick left or right. I'll let you pick that, but let's not get there, okay? Right now we have the Kings, Suns, and Halliburton on there as well. But yes, Mikal, you could pick left or right. If we roll with you and you do not hit tonight, you're definitely getting etched in there because you've burned us. In terms of a total in this spot here, Yeah, the Knicks I think should be able to get theirs against this team, and I don't think the Knicks like defense has been all that special. So maybe Maxi's able to play well, kind of up the pace and get this one going. We've seen, like I said, these two teams play a couple times, and the first time it wasn't that high scoring of a game, 111 to 99, right? So that's fairly low. But this Philadelphia team, I mean, their defense has been, what did they allow? 130, maybe more to the Bulls, right? The Celtics went off on them. I could see this being a game in which the Knicks score a lot of points. I'm just not all that confident in the Sixers, so I think I just pivot to a Knicks team total over if I needed to roll the total in this game. But like I said, weirdly enough, I think Bridges may be my favorite look in this one. Tough to say that. Yikes. All right, moving on to the next game, we have Miami taking on Atlanta. We just saw this matchup a couple nights ago, and it was a low-scoring 98-86 win for Atlanta. We take a peek at the injury report, and it's flooded on the side of things for Miami. Trae Young is listed as probable. He's been on the injury report. I think only like one game in his last, I don't even know how many. He hasn't been, so I expect Trae Young to play. But on the Miami side of things, we have Nikola Jovic out for a couple weeks, right? And then Bam Adebayo, Andrew Wiggins, and Khalil Ware all listed as questionable. I've seen Bam's questionable, actually. Now with an update, Wiggins and Khalil are listed as probable. So sure, if they play, that's going to be a big deal. Andrew Wiggins had a pretty good game in that game, a few nights back. 23 points, and he had like 4 or 5 rebounds. We had Khalil Ware over 8 points. No, over 11.5 points. He finished with 8 points. I almost pivoted 2 points plus rebounds. He had 15 rebounds in the game. So if he's healthy, I think that we could run that one back, starting with player props here, obviously, I guess. I also don't mind Bam Adebayo if he's healthy. Like, that in the paint area right inside the foul line is like where Bam lives, right? And Atlanta isn't all that great at stopping that. Bam had only 14 points in that last game. He was 5 of 13. I think we could see a better percentage from him. So yeah, I do like the same things I liked in that game. I would lean also towards Miami. I think that they're at home now, and again, this is one of those games in which the two teams play. I think the opposite results happen. Didn't happen last night with the Spurs and Pelicans, but I don't really see Atlanta being like that much head and shoulders above this Miami team. So I'll take Miami here, at home. But overall, I do think that the look for this game would probably be player prop dependent because Atlanta really does struggle down in the paint. And there's a lot of Miami guys that like Wiggins, Khalil Ware, and Bam Adebayo, all the guys that we mentioned as questionable or probable, they could make some, do some damage down there, definitely. So yeah, I kind of like the spot for those guys. So give me Miami as well as those player props. Total wise, boy, this is super, super low. Neither one of these defenses, I would say, is amazing, but realistically, I don't think they get the credit. Like, they're not bad defenses. So that's probably why this line is kind of down where it is. I'd peg this right around a 220, I'd say 226, 227 game. So with a couple points of margin in mind there, margin for error, I'm going to lean towards the under because we have this, again, pegged a few points shy. And I mentioned the defenses. I don't think they're terrible, and neither offense is all that tremendous either. All right, Brooklyn taking on OKC. I think it's too many points. I'm not going to get there myself. I'll tell you that right now, fully transparently. I don't think I get there myself. But I think this is a double-digit win for OKC. But Brooklyn, to me, is like they're playing decent defense, and OKC is such a good team. But if they're going to play good defense on Brooklyn, Brooklyn plays good defense on them. I think we have a low-scoring game here, and even the line, that the total there at 217, I've seen some 216.5s. Like, even that kind of screams, okay, this one could stay, a low-scoring game. And if that case, you have nearly 20 points in your pocket. I don't know. I sounded the psycho alert alarm. I just don't think that this is the best spot for OKC. The best thing about it, I should say, is that they just lost to Minnesota in overtime. Like, that could fire them the hell up, right? And this is, if any team's going to go out there and pummel a team, it is OKC. Like, the Celtics don't really do that. Sometimes the Cavs even kind of play around with the food on their plate. Like, I get it, but OKC seems like when they're like, oh, we're up by 20, let's go win by 25. If you guys notice that. So, sure, that's why we have the psycho alert alarm involved. But I would say, other than making like the, oh my God, it's too many points, I would say it's too many points for me to even be comfortable like throwing down on OKC anyways, even if they're playing a bad team. Like, I don't care if you're the best team in the league versus the worst team in the league. I don't think there's that much like value in terms of the risk of you have to win by that much, right? Like, knock on wood, what if Shea gets banged up right in the first quarter? It's like, I'm still holding a minus 17.5 ticket. Like, at some point, that just doesn't seem worth it to me. So yes, I do lean Brooklyn. I don't know if I have the cojones to get there myself, guys. Like that is a big number, but this is a team that I think we saw them play earlier in the year. I don't have it up, but they won by like 25. Like they can definitely smoke Brooklyn. I understand that, and I do get that, but Brooklyn's playing competitive basketball right now. Like I mean that game against Washington looked bad, but prior to that they were playing good. Like they kept it somewhat close against Cleveland, right? Houston they beat twice in a row. I think that was pre-All-Star break. Like I don't know. Maybe I'm the psycho in the room. That's why we sound the psycho alert alarm. Everything OKC, everything on the floor, OKC is going to do better. I do believe that, right? Even me giving Brooklyn the credit for being good defense, OKC's a better defense. I just think it's a crap load of points, especially if this game's going to be a really low scoring game. Like the best thing Brooklyn can do here, I think, is take every second of the shot clock and every second they can get and make this a low scoring game because, again, at the end of the game, they'll go, we got 17 and a half. What do you got? And it's like, OKC's like, 15. You know what I mean? Like they still smoke them, but maybe it's close enough. I don't know. Probably crazy. No real player props in this one either. And then I'd probably take a peek at the under, if anything. But again, this is just such a weird one. And I feel like I sound like a broken record when I say this every time OKC's on the screen, but it's like, they're kind of ruining when we get to like, what are we going to do here? It's such a high number. Of course, they're a team that can cover it. Like, OKC either is going to play phenomenal defense or they somehow score 140 and kill it under. You know what I mean? They're the toughest team right now in terms of trying to make some content around their games, I guess. Unless you're an OKC fan, you're probably loving that aspect. All right, guys, if you made it this far into the video, just before we get into the last 3 games, go ahead and comment 31. Who do you think of when you think of the number 31? It doesn't have to be basketball, but again, and we've done this before, it doesn't also have to be the person, you know, that's the best that's ever worn 31, right? Just who jumps to mind when you think of number 31? I think of, and I think this is probably one that a lot of people are going to think, I think of Reggie Miller, definitely right away. Trying to think if there's anyone else that kind of really jumps to mind. Football-wise, maybe not, but yeah, I would say I would probably go with Reggie as my number 1 answer. But who do you guys think of immediately? It's kind of an obscure number, but a cool number too, right? Shout out to anyone in the comments that was your favorite number or the number you wore or are currently wearing. But yeah, let me know in the comments, who do you think of when you think of number 31? All right, Chicago taking on Milwaukee. This is, did I just say Milwaukee? Los Angeles, they're not even close to being similar. I can understand if I say Milwaukee instead of Minnesota, but the Clippers, the Bucks, Milwaukee, Los Angeles, take a womp womp for that one. Chicago taking on LA here in this spot. We want to make sure that this is a healthy LA team before diving into anything, and it looks like Kawhi is going to play. Norm Powell, I don't think he is. It looks like he's listed as, actually is already downgraded to out, it looks like, so we assume he's not playing. That does kind of stink, obviously, for a team that I would say that this Clippers team, like, they're kind of in a funk right now. Now, they were super injured, I get it, but Milwaukee, Indiana, Detroit, it's a tough schedule as well coming out of the All-Star break. They've lost all 3 and didn't cover in them either. Now, they were on the road. They're still on the road here. They're definitely a better home team than a road team. And what I'd say about Chicago is they're actually a better road team than home team this year. But 8.5 points at home is a decent amount of points to give a team without, you know, one of their better scorers in Norm Powell. If we want to look at this game and how it should work, and should being the key part here, the Clippers are a very good team defensively. Chicago couldn't care less. They like to huck threes, right? They also like to score, or they don't like to, but they can score in isolation. I've said this about Chicago for weeks now, right? Like, they're one of the best actual success teams in isolation. They just don't run it a lot. The Clippers, you could score on them in isolation. I also see the ability for catch and shoot players to be able to score as long as Chicago's hitting their shots. So yeah, I don't mind Chicago plus 8.5. Kawhi coming back definitely gives a lot of presence here to the Clippers, but I don't think the Clippers are playing their best basketball right now. So if Chicago's able to make their threes, I could see them, you know, playing fairly well here and keeping this game close. Do I think the Clippers win? I really do. I think that they kind of get off the losing train, but I could see, you know, someone like Kobe White having a good game, just given the fact that, you know, he should be able to have a good game from 3. Lonzo, I don't know if Lonzo's going to be good to go. He's listed in the starting lineup, but he did like start bleeding from his head randomly last game. He got hit. So if he plays, I also don't mind him. Kevin Huerter could be a look. Any of these guys that are sort of catch and shoot guys could be someone that I'm considering. And as I'm refreshing his injury report, Ayo Dosunmu questionable. Vucevic is doubtful. So that's obviously a big deal. But like I said, I don't know if that, like, I don't think Vucevic is going to get much run as the season goes on anyways. Like, they wanted to trade him, and clearly Chicago was selling, and now they're kind of looking at all these young guys. You throw in Bazelis. Who else am I missing here? I mean, they're just playing some of their younger guys, so I don't know if that's going to matter all that much, especially if it's like Vucevic is out, Norm Powell's out. Okay, you're kind of looking at a wash in my opinion. But yeah, I guess that's kind of how I would look at this one. Again, there is a level of Kawhi coming back. Yeah, there's a chance that we probably skip this one and then don't end up putting our hard-earned bread on it. But I don't necessarily love the Clippers laying 8.5 on the road in a time in which they're kind of struggling. Does that make sense? Especially if there's if there's an angle, if Chicago just shoots well, I think this is a very close game. Like, if they shoot well, and it's not even the biggest if. They played well in their last game. Total-wise, 228.5. Right now, we do see this one, at least on our side of things, at a 115 to 114 game. So just slightly over. I'm going to actually go under, though. I'm going to kind of fade the model for a second because one of the ifs here is that if Chicago hits their threes, right? The other if, in my opinion, is, well, what if the Clippers defense just does play well and Kawhi does return and has good form? It's like, that's going to be very hard for Chicago. So I'm actually going to lean under 228.5. This team on the Clipper side of things, their most recent games, 116 to 110, 129 to 111. Okay, that was a bad example. The next game, 106 to 97. Like, I think that they could slow this thing down. That's against Detroit, by the way, who has been playing at a fast pace. All right, Utah is taking on Sacramento. Sacramento coming off of a win. They beat Charlotte by, 46 or nearly 50 points, something like that. Maybe even more. Utah coming off of a loss to Portland. They did play very close. They've covered in 4 of their last 5 games. They're 2-1 against the number coming out of the All-Star break. The only game they didn't was against OKC, and we kind of talked about that. OKC just loves to twist the knife, right? I do think that you can make an argument for the Jazz in this spot because of how sort of erratic this Sacramento team has been. But if Walker Kessler is out, he's questionable right now. I think that this could be a runaway spot for the Kings. Now, again, they are on the DMB graveyard. We will not be making them a final play, but I still do think that we could make an argument for it. If Walker Kessler plays, I think that the Kings have a little bit tougher of a time scoring down low, and this could be a game that stays to single digits, right? Lauri Markkanen's out, John Collins is out, Colin Sexton's out, so if you want to go that approach and that angle, sure. The counter that I would say to that is, this has been a freaking Utah team that's dealt with all of their guys being injured for the entire season. They know how to play with injured guys and whatnot. So, yeah, I guess we're getting a little crazy towards the end of the video, huh? I feel like it was chalk, 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 and then we go Brooklyn plus 17, Chicago plus 8, Utah plus 9. Like, I don't know, maybe we just got crazy towards the end here. But I do think that that's just too many points. I think you can get a 9.5 out there. But again, it's all Walker Kessler dependent for me because this is a Sacramento team that, if they get going in the paint, I do think that could be the way that they kind of just pull away with this because they'll hit their threes. But to me, it all starts kind of down in the paint. Player prop wise, mid-range looks for Sacramento should be, you're going to struggle to find a better situation. So when I say mid-range and I think about Sacramento, who the hell do you think I'm talking about, right? I love the idea of DeMar DeRozan in this spot. Now, when I say I don't love this game, okay? So as much as possible to love something in this game, I would say DeMar DeRozan could be my friend in this one. Right now, his line is at 20.5. He's hit that in just, 15 of his last 30 games. We look at his last 10 games here. He's averaging 24 points, but he's either gone off or stayed, a few buckets below this number. Last time he did play this team, he's played them twice this year, 20 points and 18 points. So you're not really finding much that you're loving in there. But that being said, this is a Utah team that really does kind of struggle, I guess, in that mid-range, right? And DeMar DeRozan, if we want to look at him on the season here, I believe this is what we looked at earlier. DeMar DeRozan against teams that are bottom 10 in the mid-range, yeah, he's hitting 70.6% of his games. You're averaging 24 points per game. So, 12 out of 17 games he's gone over. So I do think teams that struggle in the mid-range, this is a Utah team that struggles in the mid-range, we could see some looks from DeMar here, honestly. And honestly, I keep saying honestly, and this Utah team isn't like terrible against the pick and roll, which he likes to do a lot. So that could kind of hurt it, but maybe that leads to a few more like assists. So do we pivot to points plus assists? You can get it at 24.5. That I might like more now that we even say it out loud. So I just kind of stumbled upon that. DeMar DeRozan over 24.5 points plus assists has a strong chance of being a final play in this one. We look at his assists recently. I guess I should say just in the last few games here, he's averaging almost 5 assists against those teams that struggle in the mid-range. But if we want to look at, his defensive player type, I would say, so we kind of know what we're getting at here. Let's see. Defensive player type, trying to pull this one up. Okay, so Utah's very good at defending the pick and roll against bottom 10 or top 10. Yeah, he's averaging almost 4 assists per game. So if he gets 20 points, maybe we get an extra assist out of though. His last 4 games here, so this is just before the All-Star break, 4, 6, 5, 6 in his last 4 against teams that are good against pick and roll. I like that play. Okay, you could probably chalk that one in as a final play there. We didn't talk about a total yet in this one, and I'll slightly lean towards a Kings team total over. That's probably where I'd go. Like I said, if they can get down low and score, I think they can run away with this one. But to me, I don't think we're going to be rolling with it because of the DMB graveyard. So yeah, I know he's just spent kind of a lot, and I was almost like, what, you guys couldn't see. I should have just shared my screen. I think DeMar DeRozan could be the favorite play in this spot. All right, Houston taking on San Antonio. Now, we cashed last night on the Amen Thompson over an assist because we kind of got lucky. I mean, I was already going to roll with it with the assumption Fred VanVleet was playing, but Fred VanVleet did not suit up, and Thompson finished with, how many assists? He had like 6 assists in the third quarter, but I think he finished with 6 maybe. I don't know. I don't have the box score, but I think he did finish with a 6. So we only needed 4. We needed 5. He finished with 6. Great. But I feel like he slowed down at the end of the game. Anyways, they won against Milwaukee last night, right? And San Antonio coming off of a loss to New Orleans, that was a game in which if you just watch the first, 12 minutes, half of the next one, if you watch the first 18 to 20 minutes of that game, you'd go, see you later. We're walking out with this win, right? They kind of started to struggle. And I shouldn't even say kind of. They did struggle as the game went on. They lost the fourth quarter by 10. It was a good game back and forth, but they got off to the races in the first quarter, got off to the races the second quarter, and then New Orleans just ended the half phenomenally. So very good game. That's one of the games that I was watching last night, clearly. We cashed Devin Vassell in that spot. I really did like that look. Where do we go in this one? Houston, 9-point favorites. I don't think this is the same type of situation for Devin Vassell, by the way, so we're not running that one back. This is a Houston team that is phenomenal in terms of the catch and shoot. So I actually might even say let's pivot to a Devin Vassell under if you were curious. So Devin Vassell's points right now, it's up to 15.5. We got it at 14.5 yesterday. I don't mind his under. I'd probably stick to his under 2.5 threes if you can get that for a decent price because, again, catch and shoot guy. He's going to do a lot more than just catch and shoot, but obviously that should be a good look for him. But overall, I do think Houston's probably the spot, especially if this is a Houston healthy team. Now, VanVleet, we will see if he plays. If he doesn't, we'd probably run Amen Thompson's assists right back if we can still get it at 4.5, which I believe I saw you could. I want to see what the new line is. It's at 5.5 now. Wow. So that bumped already in the time of us recording, if I'm not mistaken. 5.5 I don't like as much because there's been plenty of times. His last 10 games, 4 times he's landed on 5. But the potential assists are there. So that's something I'd consider. But I do like Houston to win by double digits here. This Houston team just kind of in a scramble right now. The San Antonio team, I should say. They've lost 7 of their last 10. They haven't covered in 8 of their last 10 against this Houston squad. Houston's beat them both times this season. 27 points last time they played. We want them to be healthy, and obviously Houston is on a back-to-back, but I don't think that you can really sit there and be like, oh, they're on a back-to-back. Woe is me. It's like, so are the Spurs. So, yeah, they're just by far and away the better team. I think that they should be able to score in the paint here in this one. If Wemby was playing, maybe that would change, but he's not playing, FYI. So, Houston minus the 9 points. Total-wise, where we'd go in this one is probably a lean towards the under, but maybe a San Antonio team total under. I think Houston's defense could step up in this one. And like I said, Thompson, a potential look there, as well as Devin Vassell under potential look there, player prop wise. And guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. I know it was a long one. I apologize, but also don't apologize. Like, we're going to say what we need to say, even if we're rambling. We've talked about that a lot in videos recently. We just did a post on Instagram yesterday, which make sure you're following me there, EvPicks with a Z. We're going to do us. I know a lot of people are like, oh, the rants are too long and all that, but you know what? Sometimes I can't shut up this mouth and this brain, so they just fire on all cylinders sometimes. So you know what? I try, but it is what it is. We'll catch you guys in the next one, right? Peace out.